Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the season's final episode of the Face-Off Circle. We certainly have covered a lot of ground since our first program aired on December the 3rd. Profiles of many of your favorite Flames and hockey tips from some of the finest players in the NHL, and of course, our regular features.
And today's program should be a real blockbuster, so we hope you'll stay with us. Number 9 of the Flames, Lanny McDonald, has a tip on shooting and is also the subject of today's Flames player profile. Dave DeCent, our resident ref, reviews elbowing. Peter Puck has an interesting feature on the Stanley Cup, and Mert McElroy, as usual, is in the penalty box.
I'll also have a special feature on the Flames road trip. But to get things started, here's Lanny McDonald with a tip on shooting.
Thanks, Buckshot, and here's your tip for today. I was sure they were going to ask me to stick handle, but unfortunately they're going to ask me to show you a little bit about shooting. Now, first of all, the most important thing in shooting is to keep the shot low. About 75% of the pucks that go in the net in the NHL are scored low. Now, to keep it low, what you have to do is make sure your follow-through isn't high. So when you're over the puck and you follow through, make sure that you follow through low to shoot the puck high. And everybody likes to shoot it high, and it looks great, but you don't score up there that often because that goalie is big and bulky up here. So make sure that follow-through is nice and low. Secondly, and maybe just as important, is how fast you get that shot away. A lot of times in the NHL, you don't have time to take that big slap shot. Sure, it looks nice, but that wrist shot is what gets you there. So you make sure you get it away in a hurry. Make sure that goalie doesn't have time to set up. Now, the slap shot takes way too long. Big wind up. So, nice quick flick of the wrist and it's in the net. More than anything, a little tip for the coaches. A thing that you really have to concentrate on, especially for the kids, is to make sure they're having fun all the time. So if any drills they do, try and change them up all the time. Little different angle that they come in on the goalie, something different all the time to keep their interest. Otherwise, they get bored. But when you're talking about shooting that puck, they're all having fun. Thanks, Buckshot.
Thanks, Lanny. We look forward to your chat with Russ Peake a little later in the program.
They say that Gordie Howe had the sharpest elbows ever honed, and they say it good-naturedly, and they don't say it to his face either. So let's call on our resident ref, Dave DeCent, for an explanation of the penalty that Gordie made famous, elbowing.
Too white, elbowing. A common form of penalty that we see. Why do we call it, and why should it never be used? Let's have a look at the film clip.
If a player raises his elbow and rams it into an opponent, that's elbowing, even though the elbow wasn't thrown. Players aren't allowed to use their elbows as battering rams.
9 white, elbow.
Now here's a more obvious elbow, where it's thrown with the jabbing motion. And of course, that's elbowing. Having seen the ramming elbow and the jabbing elbow, would you call this elbowing? This is a no-call situation. The players' heights are so different that the taller player's elbows inadvertently wind up in the head area of his shorter opponent. If the taller player had thrown his elbow, that would have been different. But he was just turning around to follow the play.
Remember, you can use your shoulder and your body to check your opponent, but you cannot use your elbow. Once you use your elbow to any part of your opponent's body or his head area, it constitutes a 2-minute penalty to you for elbowing.
Thanks, Dave. You've been a tremendous asset to our show, and we'll look forward to seeing you again next season.
Now we're going to take a short time out, and when we return, Russ has got a Flames player profile on Lanny McDonald. Welcome back. One of the classiest men in hockey on and off the ice has got to be Flames co-captain Lanny McDonald. Recently, he took time out to chat with Russ Peake. Russell?
Thanks, Buckshot. My guest is perhaps the highest profile Flame of them all, Lanny McDonald. Lanny, growing up rurally, as you did, you had to travel greater distances to practice and to play your games. Do you think it gave you a greater appreciation of the game at the minor levels?
Well, it definitely was. My father had to run me into town about 20 miles about 3 times a week, and it was maybe a little tiring at times, but it was great, and I wouldn't have had it any other way.
Do you suppose that made you a more dedicated player, perhaps? I can remember Brian Trottier and some of the others saying that when you've got to go to that great length to get your practice time in your games, you come to appreciate it all the more and perhaps work even harder.
I think you do appreciate it, and especially you appreciate the time your parents put in running you back and forth, and so you don't really want to let them down, and so you try and repay them by playing well and working hard every chance you got. And I think, like Brian said, it does pay off in the long run.
I can remember the stories about your parents going to every game, or virtually every game, in Medicine Hat when you played junior there, and that was quite a hike for them.
Yes, it was. It was about 150 miles, and they used to come to just about them all, and it was nice to have their support.
Well, you have to have that support too, and yet you can't have parents that put the pressure on you, because that, I think, will probably destroy a youngster quicker than anything at that age.
I think the key to it is that you have to have their support, but they can't be pushing you into anything. And as long as they're there when you need them, especially if things are going bad or it was a bad game or whatever, it's nice to know that they're there to kind of pat you on the back and pick you up again. But if the parent is driving and pushing them into the game of hockey all the time, sooner or later that youngster is going to turn away from it. So it has to be that happy medium.
Did you follow into the game naturally, Lanny? Did you have others in your family who played the game?
Well, my father had played, and then I have an older brother who has played hockey and still is playing hockey out in Olds. And I think just following along in their footsteps and maybe having the older brother, you always try and work harder to keep up to him, and maybe that was the best thing that happened for me.
You obviously didn't get shortchanged on coaching. I would think that there might be fewer coaches, but perhaps they might be every bit as good rurally.
Well, I was very fortunate. The team I played for in Hanna, the coach that I had took me from the age of 8 up to the age of 15, and he just kept on moving up a category each year. So I really benefited from it, not changing coaches all the way up. And I'd like to see maybe more of that done, where a coach will follow through all the way with one set of boys. At least they know what to expect, and he knows what to expect from them.
Lanny, do you feel when you played your minor hockey that you had adequate coaching or better? What would you say is the most important thing that coaches pass on to young players especially?
Well, I think especially in minor hockey, the key is to work on the fundamentals as much as possible, to work hard, but more than anything, to enjoy themselves. The game, unfortunately, passes you by. Sooner or later, it becomes a job. And so in minor hockey, the key is to make sure you have fun out there, enjoy yourself. And if you do it then, even in the pros, like I am right now, you can still enjoy yourself. And that's what the nice part about the game is.
We talked about coaching. Do you entertain thoughts of coaching after your playing days?
Well, I think I always have felt that I would like to try it after my career is over. I hope that I'll be able to relate to kids, in some way. I'd like to try just minor hockey to start with, and then maybe work my way up. It'd be fun to just have no pressure and be able to play a little with the kids and see them enjoy it as much as I did.
Did you find it a big step going from junior to professional? I can remember in your first year with the Leafs, you took some pretty solid checks.
Well, it was a real adjustment for myself. Some people seem to be able to step right in and be able to handle it. I felt I had a lot to learn, and that's why I try and help the kids that are coming in today as much as possible. It was a tough adjustment for me, and I know I was 19 going on 20 at that time. Some of these kids now are 18 going on 19, and that's a big difference. Another year or 2 years younger, they need all the help they can get.
For youngsters entering a professional career, Lanny, what advice would you give them on their obligations, A, to the game, and secondly, to their life away from the rink?
Well, I think the key is you have to have a happy mix. You can't be thinking hockey all the time. That's why it's so important to have a strong family behind you. I'm very fortunate in that, and Ardell and the 3 kids, we have a very full life away from the arena, whether it be going belly, dancing with the girls, or whatever. And I think the key is just to be able to enjoy not only hockey itself, but life in general. There's got to be other outside interests, and you never have enough friends. Always keep as many as possible, and if you can do that, the game will be good to you. Try and put a little something back into the game. I think we've tried to do that as a family with the Special Olympics and that, because, like I said, the game has been awful good to us.
Yes, and you've been good to the game and also to the various charities and so forth that you're involved in. We appreciate your time. Lanny, thanks very much.
It was my pleasure.
Buckshot, what have you got for us?
Thanks, Russ. Let's hope that Lanny has recovered sufficiently from his ankle injury to lead the Flames through that tough playoff grind. Next up, Peter Puck has a timely feature on the Stanley Cup. Pete?
Howdy, hockey fans. It's your old poke-check professor, Peter Puck, with a few interesting items about one of the real old mugs of hockey. As a matter of fact, it's the oldest trophy competed for by professional athletes in North America. Hey, watch it! Whoa! No, this isn't the old mug I'm talking about. It's over here. This is it, the old Stanley Cup, the symbol of hockey. It's almost as old as ice hockey in North America, which started a long time ago. The first recorded ice hockey game was played in Kingston, Ontario in 1860, but the first formal rules were drawn in 1879 in Montreal. In those days, the goal had no net, just 2 posts. And when the puck went between them, it was a score. And the goal judge waved a hanky. It was a fast and furious game right from the start and rapidly gained national attention in Canada. So much so that in 1893, a representative of Canada's Governor-General, Frederick Arthur, Lord Stanley of Preston, the man who donated the trophy, presented it to Montreal AAA champs, an amateur team. Ironically, Lord Stanley never saw a Stanley Cup game. The original cup cost $48.67 and was about the size of a football. In fact, at one victory celebration, the old mug was drop-kicked onto a frozen canal in Ottawa and left unceremoniously until the following morning. A championship Montreal team was once photographed with the cup, but they left the studio without the trophy. It was found by the photographer's mother, who used it for a flower pot for a while. The old cup, once captured, had a history of being ignored. The Ottawa Senators' King Clancy, a Hall of Famer coach and current VP of the Toronto Maple Leafs, left it in his living room as a catch-all for letters, bills, gum, and cigar butts. Hey, watch it, fella. Show a little respect for a symbolic heritage. In 1924, another Montreal player had to fix a flat tire on the way to a victory celebration, but he left the Stanley Cup on a street corner. Fortunately, it was found later that night. And you watch it too, Bowser. Yep, the old mug weathered a lot of rough going. It's had its face lifted a few times along the way. Additional silver sections were added, and what with all the engraving over the many years, the Stanley Cup's value is said to be over $15,000. This top section is an exact copy of the original trophy in every detail. The original is preserved in the Hockey Hall of Fame vault in Toronto. Since 1917, the National Hockey League has competed for the Cup and has done so exclusively since 1926. It is awarded annually to the team winning the best-of-7 championship playoff rounds, where the winning team takes home the most coveted trophy in sports, the oldest award competed for by professional athletes in North America, the Stanley Cup. So, let's get on with the show. The world's fastest team sport. It's NHL time. Whoops! Keep your eye on me, folks.
Boy, that little guy's just a wealth of information, isn't he? We're going to look forward to having Peter back next season. And we'd like to thank Brian McFarland of Hockey Night in Canada for his assistance in getting Peter on the show.
We'll take another brief time out here, and when we return, Buckshot files a special report on a recent Flames road trip. Welcome back. Just before Christmas, Buckshot and the Face-Off Circle production crew journeyed north to Edmonton, where they prepared a special feature on a Flames road trip. Let's join them.
A lot of our young fans, and I suppose some of our older fans too, have probably wondered about what happens on a road trip when the team, like the Flames, take off and are traveling around. Well, we decided to come to Edmonton and join the Flames on a road trip, and we've prepared a little feature, and we'll look at that now. Edmonton, home of the Oilers. Not exactly the friendliest of confines if you're a visiting NHL team. For the Flames, this is the second game of an abbreviated 2-game road trip. Wednesday night in the warm climes of Los Angeles. And now, Friday in the somewhat cooler Edmonton. Cooler? Boy, it was minus 26 Celsius. Arrived at 11:30 in the morning after a short flight from Calgary. Following a brief jaunt to the hotel by bus, the players will enjoy a pre-game meal and a short nap. We're away from home today on one of the many road trips that hockey players get involved in. Maybe you could fill us in on some of the different things the things that are really different on the road as far as you know, where you stay, how you eat, and your hours. Are they different?
Yeah, it's a lot different. Matter of fact, to be honest with you, it's probably the most difficult thing in regards to being a professional hockey player are the road trips. Not so much the games, but just the atmosphere surrounding the games as far as a different routine from being at home. And some of the things involved in that difference would be staying at hotels, food being different as far as restaurant food in contrast to home food. And it's a type of thing where the games aren't so fatiguing, but just all the travel and stopping off in airports for connections, etc. And something I'm not really used to is the cold weather in some of the Canadian cities. That I grew up in that type of atmosphere, but that type of climate. But the last 3-4 years I've been in Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh being more centralized than Calgary in regards to the other National Hockey League teams. The road trips were a lot shorter. We may have had 2 or 3 extended road trips throughout the year, but with Calgary being a little further out west and the majority of the National Hockey League teams being centered in the east, the road trips are going to be longer.
Long before the players start to arrive at the rink, Bearcat Murray, the Flames trainer, is busy checking out the medical supplies. Assistant trainer Bobby Stewart, a new daddy by the way, checks out the sticks and sharpens skates and lays out the equipment. Tell me what it is that you're just finishing a skate here. What have you been doing?
Well, just finishing sharpening up the skates for tonight's game.
Putting a good edge on it.
Yeah.
Does everybody have their skates sharpened the same way? You hear different players like different things as far as
some guys like them a little sharper than others, and some don't like them sharpened every game, but for the most part they're the same.
What kind of responsibilities do you have different on the road? Like here we are in Edmonton, obviously their facilities aren't where they are at home and that kind of thing. What kind of responsibilities what's the difference at least on the road?
Well, here you rely on the home team to supply us with a lot of things, but once we get into town, Bearcat and I have to come and hang up the equipment, and you try and get everything as much like home for the players, so when they come in ready for the game, that things are, as well organized as they can be.
And as far as the equipment is concerned, maybe if they played the night before or the night before that, do you have extra sets of equipment?
No, we would try and dry it out in the rink that we were in the night before, and then first thing in the morning come down and pack it up and on to the next city wherever we're going.
Never ends. So your responsibilities during the game are a lot. We've seen you guys have to do a lot then, but your days are long sometimes too then, huh?
Oh, sometimes they are, but we enjoy it very much.
How about the repair of equipment? Are you involved in that kind of thing too, or?
Well, yeah, if things happen, blades break sometimes during the game, and you have to just try and get them fixed as fast as you can so that the players get back on the ice.
Getting back out there. And then I know if players are hurt and that kind of thing, the Bear is involved in things. You also have to be involved in that too, I guess.
Well, sometimes you try and get him a hand, but he does such a good job on that.
Players start to arrive at the arena up to 3 hours before game time. Before the warm-ups, many of the Flames attend to last-minute details. For some, it's almost a ritual. It's almost game time. General Manager Cliff Fletcher chats with assistant coach Bob Murdoch, while head coach Bob Johnson goes over tonight's lineup. Three hours from now, the Flames will have skated to a highly entertaining 5-5 tie with the Oilers.
Thank you, Buckshot. Now to wrap things up, let's join Mert McElroy in the penalty box.
Before we wrap up this series, let me make one closing comment about officiating and our view of officiating as parents. Let's consider for one moment that, again, that the officials out on the ice are basically volunteers or are certainly in a learning process. And your youngsters can only learn by your examples. So if you're going to be acting as fools in the stands, your kids are going to act accordingly. This whole series has been dedicated towards our feelings towards youngsters, and that we should put all of the kids ahead of our personal wants and our personal likes. We can teach them, we can lead them, we can guide them, but it's for them that the game has been created for, at least in our minor hockey community. Let's let them participate a little bit in the planning, let them participate in the organization, and let the kids have fun and have some recreation out of what they're doing out there without the constant pressure of organization, of we parents, of whatever. Let them skate and let them have some fun. Those are my views. We trust you've enjoyed this series, and we look forward to hopefully coming back with you next winter. I'm Mert McElroy. Contact us, care of CFCN Television, Calgary.
The Flames have been playing good hockey, not only at home, but also on the road, as evidenced by that 5-5 tie with the Oilers. Well, that about wraps it up for this season. In the Face-Off Circle, we hope you've enjoyed our series as much as we've enjoyed doing it, and that you'll plan on joining us again next season. Buck?
Special thank you, too, to all of the Flames players for their time and cooperation. Bearcat Murray, Bobby Stewart, coaches Johnson and Murdoch, along with Al Coach and coach Rick Skaggs.
We wish the Flames the best of luck in the playoffs, and likewise to all of the minor hockey teams in southern Alberta. Remember, hockey is a game. Games should be fun. We'll drop the puck in the Face-Off Circle in approximately 7 months. Hope to see you then. Bye for now. Bye-bye.
While in Edmonton, the Face-Off Circle production crew stayed at the Forum Rotary, just across